When we think of philosophy, the names that often come to mind are men: Socrates, Plato, Descartes, Nietzsche. But in the 20th century, one woman stood tall among them all, breaking barriers and reshaping how we think about freedom, identity, and gender. Her name was Simone de Beauvoir, and she is remembered as the mother of modern feminist philosophy. Simone was born in 1908 in Paris, France. From an early age, she was brilliant and determined. Unlike most girls of her time, she wanted more than marriage and motherhood. She wanted to think, to write, and to live freely. At just 21, she became the youngest person ever to pass the philosophy exam at the Sorbonne University, a sign of the remarkable life that lay ahead. Her life was deeply intertwined with another philosopher, Jean-Paul Sartre. The two met as students, and their partnership became legendary. They challenged traditional ideas of love and commitment, living outside of marriage but bound by intellect and freedom. They believed in living authentically, creating one's own meaning in a world without fixed answers. But Simone de Beauvoir was not just Sartre's partner. She was a philosopher and writer in her own right. Her most famous book, The Second Sex, published in 1949, changed the course of history. In it, she asked a powerful question: what is a woman? De Beauvoir argued that women had for centuries been defined as the other, not as individuals with their own identity. She famously wrote, "One is not born, but rather becomes a woman." By this, she meant that society shapes women into roles of obedience and limitation, rather than allowing them to define themselves. This was radical. It challenged centuries of tradition and exposed how culture, politics, and even family life reinforced inequality. Her words lit a fire that inspired the feminist movements of the 1960s and 70s, giving women across the world a new way to see themselves, not as second to men, but as equal and free beings. But Simone's work went beyond feminism. She wrote novels, essays, and memoirs exploring themes of freedom, aging, ethics, and human existence. She was a voice for the oppressed, speaking out against colonialism, war, and injustice. Her personal life also reflected her philosophy. She lived boldly, rejecting convention, writing endlessly, and inspiring generations of thinkers and activists. She was not afraid of controversy. In fact, she embraced it, if it meant pushing society toward truth. Simone de Beauvoir passed away in 1986, but her legacy lives on. Every time we talk about gender equality, about freedom of choice, about defining our own path, her influence is there. She gave women, and men too, the tools to question, to resist, and to transform the world. In the end, Simone de Beauvoir was not just a philosopher. She was a pioneer, a rebel, a guide who taught us that freedom is not something we are handed. It is something we must create for ourselves.